Hi there, good afternoon, and welcome to Canceling COVID. I'm Tanya Rivens. We go beyond the stats and the headlines to show you the gaps that COVID 19 has presented in our community, and it continues to widen in our neighborhoods, especially communities of color. We are contacting or contracting the virus and dying in record numbers. Today, our big focus turns to how COVID is financially unleveling the playing field in our local real estate market. But first, let's update you on the top story. And I know some people are quite excited about this. Mecklenburg County's warning for you to stay home and only go out for necessary activities. Well, it will last to at least February 28th. The health directive was supposed to expire next Tuesday, but county health officials now, Director Gibby Harris says the number of positive cases and people in hospitals with COVID is still extremely high. So a little too close for comfort right now. Here's the big change, however. The new health warning doesn't include schools, and that's a relief for a lot of people. It mentions a CDC study released earlier this week indicating school is safe with appropriate safety measures in place. And I know that has been a big part of the conversation with so many parents and students and what they're missing out on. So the Charlotte Mecklenburg School Board, they were already scheduled to meet next week to consider if classroom learning could resume on February 15th for some grades. So we'll see if the new directive plays into that. And when we say some grades, of course, we have a lot to show. We had a conversation even last week, let me say it like that, with a parent of the younger students. It's just a little bit too much, folks. They're struggling and having a really difficult time in trying to adjust with all of the on screen learning that they're having to do with their computers. So that brings us to the question of the day. Should teachers be at the head of the line for vaccinations? I mean, they're going to be around our students, and they are along with frontline workers. Do we allow them to move to the front of the line and get vaccinations? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Jump in the chat and weigh in. We'll be showing your responses and your comments throughout the show. And I'd love to hear from you. So, again, the question of the day: should teachers be vaccinated with frontline workers? And now we're going to bring in our special guest. Our first guest is Adrian Gates. I mentioned real estate, and Adrian is a loan operator, and she was on the brink of losing her home. So she's actually volunteered to help share her story and to enlighten others. And so, good afternoon, Adrian. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Hi there.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Adrian. You guys have a really special gift of working with real estate and understanding numbers, which is something that's so intimidating for me. But tell us a little about the financial strain that COVID put on you and your family.
Well, for me, being a single parent, I have one son who is very, very energetic, and sometimes school and focus is not, the strong suit. So, putting on that hat of not only being a single parent, being the everything, being the friend, the confidant, the teacher, everything, and kind of going through the motions with him, not really having the time to get out there and utilize other resources that may be available, that could help put food on the table and things like that. So that was a big, big thing for me, is basically the time, losing out that time, because now I'm full-time everything.
Yeah, and juggling a lot of things, and I know it's quite a bit of task. But let me back up. Your title is a loan operator. What exactly is that?
Well, actually, I'm a loan officer, NMLS ID 174484. And put that out there.
All
But
right.
yeah, so I'm a loan officer. So I basically help people with refinances and basically purchasing property in
So
the
how
market.
so how far behind someone that's in the business, and of course it can help happen to anyone that has nothing, one has nothing to do with the other, but how far behind had you gotten on your mortgage?
Well, luckily for me, I was only a fraction of a payment behind because like I said, I was trying to utilize all of my resources. I had a little bit that I had saved up because actually prior to COVID, I had removed myself from corporate America so that I could transition on this journey to not only being a single mom, but having the flexibility to provide for my son. So, I mean, this whole year that whole year was basically like taking a step out and doing something totally different,
Yeah.
leaning in on faith. And so kind of coming back to being a loan officer, um, like I said, I was a fraction of a month behind. And it's funny how the small still voice works. My sister, she says, Adrian, she says, there's a program, North Carolina Hope program. Today is the last day. I think you should apply. And I really didn't think anything about it. I just says, okay, well, let me just go online and see, what it's about. I went online, I filled out the application, I kind of set it, forgot it, didn't think anything about it. And every now and again, I would get like emails to say, hey, we received your application, we're working on it, kind
So
of a
you
thing.
kind of just
And all
telling
of a
us,
sudden,
yeah, you kind of telling
I'm
us. So
sorry.
no, what that's what I was getting ready to ask, and you were leading to that. What type of help were you able to get, and how long did it take for it to come through? So you mentioned the Hope program, I believe you said.
I did, yes. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but
That's
yes.
oh
So
no,
that small still voice led me to the North Carolina Hope program, and that was back in I think November, and it was maybe a few weeks ago. I got a phone call, and I actually missed the phone call. But before I got the phone call, my son and I we were eating breakfast, and a prayer that I said was, let no good thing be withheld from us today. I didn't
oh
think anything about it. Probably about an hour later, my phone rang. I returned the call. It was a representative from the North Carolina Hope program, and all I could say is that my God is good. He
I
answers
was gonna say,
prayers,
look at God.
and
Yeah,
it was just it was amazing. It was amazing to be able
that's
to
great.
get that help
That's a
because
great testimony.
I didn't think too much about it. Like I was being obedient to the
Yeah,
little small still voice that came by way of my sister, but I
right.
did not really put too much weight on, as to whether it was going to come into fruition, if
So
that
I'm
makes
glad
sense.
to see that it all worked out. I'm still tripping on you saying a fraction of the mortgage. I don't know who, except for someone in the business, would look at it like that. Because when you say a fraction, you either behind a month or you're not. And you're saying a fraction. I'm going, what is that? So you weren't completely 1 month behind. Is that correct?
Exactly. I was
Okay, okay.
utilizing all
All
of
right.
the funds that I had
Okay.
to do what I needed to do.
Okay. So now, as a loan officer, though, are you finding it difficult? People are having a hard time getting approval, say for mortgages right now. Is it a little bit more tough?
I think the toughest thing is documentation, but really, I think it's just a matter of starting the process. You need to know where
Okay.
you are. It doesn't mean just because you inquire that you're ready to purchase a house tomorrow, but you might be ready to purchase 3 months from now. You'll never
Right.
know unless you start the conversation.
Okay.
Right.
So
So
what?
I actually, and there's so many programs out there available for people that they really don't know about, and everybody's situation is different. So that's why I say the biggest thing I could say is start the conversation with someone that can guide you through the process and tell you where you are.
And what about people though that are in a position where they're about to get evicted? What kind of advice or encouragement would you say to those people?
So the first thing I would say, excuse me,
That's
the first thing I would say is to remember that God is your source. He is the
amen.
source of everything, and everything else is a resource. Tap into your resources. Okay, just like I heard that small, still voice that came by way of human, I listened and I was obedient. But keep calling your lenders, reevaluate your financial situation. If you are trying to get help from your lender, you know, typically they want to see a surplus. I'm not saying how big that surplus needs to be, but when you go in and you reevaluate your financial situation, they want to know that you have something at the end of the day that you can bring to the table. Because if you have a negative, it's kind of like, well, what can we do?
Yeah.
You might look at refinancing your property. Maybe you're in a position where you're not far gone, but you could possibly refinance. That's always an option. And then sometimes, and I know people don't like to hear this, but sometimes we have to go into an acceptance for where we are as far as change.
Yeah.
Sometimes God is calling us to change our particular situation, our environment, and we might be fighting it tooth and nail. And so to, let go and let God, may be that He wants you to relocate. Maybe you're holding on to something that no longer serves you any purpose. And you might feel better once you decide to start taking steps in that direction, as opposed to, yeah, I'm holding on, not letting
Yeah.
go. You know what
So
I mean?
Adrian,
So
Adrian is a woman of faith, and I appreciate you sharing all that. Are there any other resources? We have your contact information up. As a loan officer, the contact number 704-299-9087. And I truly appreciate you sharing the powerful words. Certainly, we all need the inspiration and motivation. But any other resources out there available for people that are looking when it comes to resolving, looking for housing?
well, again, you've got your standard programs. I would say just give me a call and we could talk about your financial situation and where you are and see what type of programs fit. Programs are changing every day.
Yeah.
So I would say let's start there. Let's start with the conversation.
Okay, good deal. So give your number out once more. We had it on the screen as we wrap things up. Please share your number. I love your spirit, love your energy. I can't imagine who
Thank
wouldn't want to
you.
start with you. So what's your number?
My number is 704-299-9087, and I am super duper excited to help you in your new journey to home ownership or refinancing, whatever that may be.
All right, great stuff. Thank you again for sharing the afternoon with us. And what a voice of inspiration and energy that just dropped in with us to you can tell she's a woman of faith and will not be deterred. And I just love that. To start out the weekend. Come on, you better get some of that energy as we continue talking about real estate and the impact from COVID. Our next guest, I believe, we were having some technical problems earlier, but I believe she is now available to join us. The headline has been everywhere this week that Charlotte's housing market is booming. But who is it booming for? I want to talk to realtor and radio host Tia Harris. Hey, Miss Harris, how are you?
Hey, how you doing today? Thank you so much for having me on your program.
So glad to have you. We go way back. You've been doing
Yes.
real estate for a long time, and you're very knowledgeable. And when we talked about discussing the real estate and the market, I was like, we need to talk to Atia Harris. So we're hearing it's a seller's market, and homes are selling fast. I hear people all the time. Even been approached. We don't have enough inventory in Charlotte. You want to sell your home. But the flip side, the prices are pretty high, so what does that mean for middle and low income families?
Well, you know what it means when you say that is urgency, because I've been trying to let individuals know for quite some time that property values are going up drastically in this area. And so a lot of people like to contain their payment. And if you want to do that, you have to move as soon as possible. So right now, if you want to purchase a house around 200 or less, it's so much competition for in that price point because of that. And many people are fighting for houses. But not only that, if you can't find a place here, you'll probably be 30 minutes to an hour outside of Charlotte.
Wow. And when you say outside of Charlotte, though, what areas? Because I'm hearing now even taxes are, going up in some of the suburbs. And of course, I'm not talking Cornelius Davis and Huntersville, my neck of the woods, but, typically people were going to Concord, to Cabarrus County, or heading down to York County. Are those the areas where they should be looking for something for 200,000 or less?
So you're exactly on the money. Those are great areas, and a lot of people are looking at Gastonia, and there are places right outside of Charlotte that are now expensive, more
Yeah.
expensive than Charlotte. So you try to go that direction, and that's what you encounter with rent and also, the prices of property. But Concord is hot, Kannapolis, Gaston County right now is hot.
So what does that translate to as far as competition for trying to get a home? It makes it very competitive and quite difficult, or can people still kind of navigate and maneuver through it?
So it's difficult because you're also in competition with cash investors that have targeted this area from all over the country. Because recently I saw statistics where Charlotte housing went up 49% in a 6 year period, and it's
Woo!
continuing to rise because millennials are attracted from all over the country as well to this area. And it was stating that the average rent now was 1750. And I remember when I had my first apartment when I was like 20 something years old, and it was 300 something dollars a month with a weight room, beautiful greenery, walking trails.
That was in
Uh,
Charlotte?
yeah,
Oh,
off
wow.
of Monroe Road, and it had a party room, and I'm telling my age a little bit now. You can play volleyball too.
No,
So
I know. When you as you're saying, I'm going, wait a minute, Tia, hold back a little bit because $300 to 1750, that's pretty amazing. So that you've pretty much kind of demonstrated too how the prices have changed a whole lot. But how much would you say they've changed in the last year?
So in the last year, when I look at housing prices, to me they've gone up 10 to 15,000. It's like the longer you wait, the worse it gets. COVID-19 did hit and it stalled the market for a very short period of time, and it's just because for some reason Charlotte has always been great and weathered the storm when the nation has not been doing so. When the market crashed the last time, it did much better than the rest of the nation. So it's still doing that. So for 1 month, things went down and it came right back up.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, I had a conversation with someone who also is a realtor, and he said that the average inventory is usually you guys prefer about 60 to 90 days, but in Charlotte, it's only about 30 days. So, is that correct, Tia? And so it makes it very difficult.
So I want to let you know if you put an offer on a house now, most likely you're going to have competition, and when you have competition, that's when it becomes a seller's market, and people are having bidding wars for these houses, and a lot of houses are actually going for more than what the seller was actually asking for, which is yet continuing the trend of the uptick in the area.
Wow. Well, it's interesting that you're sharing that. So, would it be correct to say that now people are getting priced out of Charlotte, especially when it comes to affordable housing? We've got a real issue with that. We talked about the homeless issue as well, but Charlotte historically has had an affordable housing issue. Do you see any way or any thoughts on how we're going to ever come back from that if the pricing here for housing is kind of pushing people outside the city?
Well, I think it's going to continually be a push. Rumor has it it's one push 30 minutes out, another push you'll be an hour out. So the longer you wait, the further you're going to be, which, as in other major cities, a lot of people drive an hour to work and an hour back home, and they're living their life in traffic. So words of encouragement: get something as soon as you possibly can. And do want to let you know it's so bad that some people are putting in blind offers. They're seeing a property online and just making an offer on it before even
But
going
without
to the
seeing,
property.
really?
Yes,
So we've got your website up, yourhomesolutionsrealty.com. I can tell you, Ms.
yes.
Harris has been doing this for so long, very knowledgeable. You talk about getting a house, but a lot of people right now, don't have a job, not in a position to do all that. But I
Mhm,
want to talk
mhm.
more about your biggest complaint or concern that you're hearing from buyers right now. Is it around the fact that it's a seller's market and people are overpricing their homes?
Yes, because let's say, for example, I have a client right now. I have all price points of client. Whoever comes, I'll work with them. If they want to buy something $1 million, if they want to buy something $90,000, I'll take every client. And I have one right now. She qualifies for 135, and maybe 5 or 6 years ago, she could have got something big and new. And if you could see what we've been seeing, it's been very discouraging. So
Oh,
yes, we have now been looking outside of Charlotte, but people like to narrow down the area. And I want to say, when you have a budget and you know that you want your payment capped, you need to be open-minded just because of what's going on in this area right now. So your preference would be Concord maybe, but you need to be open to everywhere around the city where you can have easy access back in.
so, Tia, I've got a couple more questions. This
Hmm.
conversation is going really well. Hopefully, we can get you to come back. But Tanya
Hmm.
Harton, she says it's a color issue. They are pricing us out of the city and it's on purpose. What would your comment be to that?
Well, she might be referring to regentrification that is actually around Center City or the Skyline, where
Yeah,
there was a lot of low income housing. And so, what's happening is investors have targeted those areas because of the increase in value. So, for example, there's a neighborhood called Wilmore that was low income back in the day, and you might have to pay 800,000 to live in there now. But
right.
what these investors do is they buy the property from the owner. The owner makes a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
when they do it. It's to me, it's a win-win situation. And then the investor does a major overhaul rehab on that property, or tears it down and puts a new structure in its place, and then they put it back on the market. So it just seems to me that someone has decided that around uptown they would prefer luxury versus low income housing. The problem is they're not replacing it. That's the
Right.
problem.
Yeah.
So if someone could fill that need, that would be great.
Well, you people call it gentrification. I prefer to call them colonizers, and that's a
Yeah.
whole nother conversation. But when you say COVID makes it harder for them to find affordable rental property as well, that landlords would rather sell or and have tenants just move out of their property. What's your take on that?
So a lot of landlords are kind of scared right now because the government has stepped in and put some moratoriums in place where, hey, for a certain period of time you can't evict someone out of your property. So some people have real situations where they can't pay rent, and so that's going on. The landlord's not receiving, and then some just play the game
Yeah,
because I look at it from the whole aspect.
yeah.
And so, like, I have a friend of mine. It's a gentleman that he hasn't paid rent in months.
What?
So right now, that's why you see a lot of landlords. Some of them are just opting to sell because of that situation.
And so that's an interesting story because what that means is people that genuinely need the support, need the time, need to take a break. There are people that don't. They're manipulating the system and making it hard for everybody. And that's really unfortunate. So
Unfortunately, in a crisis like this, it always happens.
so it's not unheard. You've been at it for a
No.
while, so you've seen a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you
Hmm.
seeing as far as commercial real estate, which is what my business is, and we've been fairly fortunate to the sense that our tenant, he's done well. He's in real estate. So
Hmm.
what are you seeing with commercial businesses?
So what I'm seeing is it kind of depends on what type of business that you have. A lot of everyone knows has gone out of business. I went in a nail shop not too long ago, and the man said his business has been sour for a whole year, and but
In the
he's
nail
main
shop.
yeah, at a nail
Wait a
shop in,
minute.
in a great location.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said his business has been sour for a year. But they have the PPP money,
Right.
where you can apply to get a forgivable grant from the government, and that's going on right now, the second round. So that has helped sustain some businesses. And then also the SBA, Small Business Administration, came out with some very low interest loans with great terms to try to help people last. But yes, some are going by the wayside. There is help, and if your business is in trouble, you need to utilize that help.
Tia, you got some great information, and we've shared that with our listeners, our viewers. We appreciate everyone that's hopped on. They're making a lot of comments, and you're very knowledgeable. As we wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to share?
I would just say I appreciate someone as grand as yourself allowing me
Oh, stop
um, to
it.
to come on to your program. And I would just tell individuals, if you're not a homeowner and you plan on being in this area even for a year, I would encourage you, to work towards purchasing something. And if you don't, especially if you're low to middle income, like what we discussed, you will be definitely priced out the city. So I'm saying it's not too late. You got to work a little bit harder for it, but it's not too late. So let's get something before we wind up being a Chicago, a Seattle, a California, a Boston, Massachusetts, and a New York, because that is the direction it's going right now.
Okay, give out your contact information so people can connect with you.
All right. If you have any questions or comments, or want to chat about real estate or need real estate, call me at 704 287 9749. That's 704 287 9749.
Hey, and Tia, Miss Harris, like, are there any grants someone's asking in addition to, we know SBA, but for people
Mm-hmm.
that are looking for housing or looking for help? I know Miss Gates
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the other program that's available. Looks like Tanya's familiar. She says that Tanya Harden, the
Mm-hmm.
SBA is giving some grants, but I know the EIDL. But to me, all this stuff is kind of complicated. Are you able to assist people? And besides the North Carolina, I believe she said Hope program, are there any other programs that you're aware of?
So as far as in purchasing, there are multiple down payment assistance programs, and listen to this well. So some lenders don't do any, some lenders do one or two, and some lenders do all of them. And when you get with a lender that does them all, you can actually stack the programs together, the ones that you prefer and like. So right now, House Charlotte, the city of Charlotte has a program. Most people are getting like $10,000 from there, and all the little cities have their own programs. The state has one for 8,000. Then they have another one where some people may get 30 to 40,000. The
Ooh,
first two, yeah, the first two,
that's
and
a
that's to
lot of money
contain,
for a down
yeah,
payment.
that's to contain the payment to help you keep that affordable payment. So that's on
Okay.
purchasing, you know. So the first two are forgivable. You live in there for a while and it goes away. The last one, at some point, they want it paid back, whether you pay the house off, do a refinance, um, or just sell the property. But some people look at it different ways. I had one client say, well, hey, my property will earn that equity during that time period, so it's a wash for me. So it just depends on how you look at it. But some people say, hey, I want to get that because instead of my payment, for example, being 1,200, you know, it might be 800. So
Yeah.
just kind of like a hypothetical there. So yes, many programs are out there as far as buying.
All right. So again, I have to let you go. I want you to give out your information one more time.
Thank you so much. 704-287-9749. That's 704-287-9749.
And the website is yourhomesolutionsrealty.com.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And let me tell you this, sis, I've always had mutual respect for you and certainly know that you are a heck of a realtor and appreciate all that you're doing. All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you
Absolutely.
greatly.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you for joining us. Hey, some great conversation, folks. That's what we do. Candid, real talk, just dealing with this COVID, this pandemic that's impacting our community in such a huge way. I understand we've got great response to the question of the day. Should teachers be vaccinated with frontline workers? And you guys have been weighing in. Nina Garrett says, your teachers are frontline to life. There isn't one in any occupation that did not have to go to before a teacher first. So if you're trying to figure out what I'm saying, I'm not quite sure either because I don't have my glasses on. So I might have to lean in a little bit. But Miss Garrett, please forgive me. She says, yes, teachers are the front line to life. There isn't one in any occupation that did not have to go before a teacher first. She's absolutely right. Teachers are those. They are those that everyone has contact with at some point. If we don't get children back in schools, the economy is going, and I don't see the rest of the comment, but she is spot on because we all have had to go before teachers. Anna Louise Pryor Gates says, I truly think the teachers should be on the front line for the vaccinations so we can get the children back in school. And Lord have mercy, I'm worried about our kids, y'all. I'm telling you, they're falling behind. We need help. Eugene Lowry says, do that and protect our, I'm going to assume, protect our children. They're our future. So we definitely need to get these guys back. And that's what he said. Do that, protect our future. Thank you, Eugene. You're right. We got to get these kids back in school and we want it done safely. And of course, that's the goal. So prayers are that Charlotte Mecklenburg schools are going to start heading back. I think now it just took some time to get some research and information done. And I think they're certainly spot on with that. Boy, did we have fun today. We're already at 30 minutes, which means it's time for me to wrap up. And I want to say again, thank you to Miss Adrian Gates and to Miss Atia Harris. Some great information about real estate. We got more conversation to come. We're going to continue talking about canceling COVID. That's our goal. And we're going to win it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Share the word every Wednesday and Friday. We're here at 1 o'clock. And thank you for your comments. Please continue to post them and we'll continue to share them. You can join me Sunday. Sounds of Inspiration, Streets 1033, 100.5 FM. We're also online. I'll talk about this show and share some comments there as well. Have a great weekend. As always, life's challenges make you better, not bitter. I'm Tanya Rivens. Be safe.